Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident panelist, as always, Ryan Schlip. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_data. Well, Thursday, the day that you're listening to this, is the first official day of on-field action. Today, for me, is the first day of the media sessions for certain players. So if you're in any way excited to watch some of the combine drills, today's the day. It is from 3 to 8 Eastern, 2 to 7 Packer time. And it is the defensive line, linebacker, and place kicker groups. And I saw a video, and it's why I was like, am I off on my my days here? Somehow, they were able to get a kicker out there to kick a 60-yarder. I heard somebody say 65 in the group there, but since I have it in front of me, I'll just mention it. Florida kicker Trey Smack hit from 60 yards after Eagles special teams assistant Tyler Brown and Broncos special teams coordinator Darren Rizzi try to ice him. Smack was impressive at today's specialist showcase. Okay, so they did have a specialist showcase. Won by Titan special teams coordinator Bones Fassel's team. Well, I will dig into that in a second. But anyways, obviously, I saw that because there's some Packer fans out there that are a little giddy about some of the kickers that are out there, and seeing that got some people excited. Certainly, I try to keep as open of a mind as possible, because it's the more you get locked in, the more you get frickin' derailed when you thought you had it all figured out, and then everything gets all out of whack. So we got to keep an open mind to guys. Could the Packers draft a kicker? This is one of the things that I despise and would love to change about the NFL draft situation. I mean, if you think, for those of you that are not intimately involved in certain NFL draft stuff, if you think the NFL has some negative fans, the NFL draft is basically nothing but negativity. It's nothing but, that would never happen. That's not going to happen. That was a stupid pick. You're an idiot. The team doesn't need that. That's all it is. And I hate it. I hate it because there's nothing that's definitive. And it drives me crazy that so many people want to be so definitive about everything. Especially something as stupid as mock draft. Well, not to call mock drafts necessarily stupid, but the stupid thing about it is, you do a mock draft once, what are you supposed to do? You got the perfect mock draft, you just keep doing it over and over and over again? No, you experiment with things. You try different things. What if we trade up? What if we trade back? What if we trade a player? What if we do this? So people who have done 900 mock drafts try something new, and everyone's like, you're an idiot! That's not the exact thing that everybody has agreed on. Good. It's freaking boring with the same stupid bull crap over and over again. Man, you get out of line even a little bit, it's, oh, how dare you? They don't need a tackle. Shut up, bro. So anyways, I've made my stance on the kicker situation clear. I think we need to be patient with the guy that we have. Kickers have down years. They tend to rebound and reward the team that sticks with them, or the team that they get traded to or released to or whatever. And I'd like to be the beneficiary of the team that, believes in him. But maybe the Packers disagree. Maybe the new special teams coordinator, along with Gutekunst and everybody else, feel that McManus needs to go. And so it's always good to kind of dig into this stuff and remember. It's not going to be hard to remember Smack. Darren Rizzi even made a joke about that. The very obvious low-hanging fruit, lame joke of Smack smacked it. Anyways, real quick on this specialist showcase. It's a dedicated session for the invite-only group of top college kickers, punters, and long snappers. The 7 prospects were split into competitive teams, each coached by current NFL special teams coordinators and assistants. They ran through a full slate of position-specific drills. Man, it'd be nice if we had a special teams coordinator that could, whatever, it's fine. With scoring that turned it into a team competition. So field goals from various distances, angles, punts for hang time, distance, accuracy, long snaps, etc. Winning team was led by Tennessee Titans special teams coordinator John Bones Fassel, often called Coach Bones. Florida kicker Trey Smack was the clear star. He looked sharp all session, capped it by drilling a 60-yard field goal even after getting iced, which was what the video showed too. They kind of run out and they tell him to stop, and then they had him kick it. He still nailed it. Smack has legit NFL leg strength. He was 10 of 13 from 50+. That's pretty good. Oh, in college. And finished his Florida career on fire, 16 of 17 field goals after a shaky week 1. Florida actually sent 2 specialists, Smack plus punter Tommy Doman, who I think was the guy holding for him, because they were talking about how they were a very they tried to get the kickoff even when they were being iced. They're like, Florida, you guys are pretty smart. But the list included Tommy Doman, the punter from Florida, Ryan Eckley, Michigan State, Trey Smack, the kicker from Florida, Drew Stevens, Iowa, Jake Stonehouse, punter from Syracuse, Brett Thorson, punter from Georgia, Dominic Zavada, kicker from Michigan. You know, I got to be completely honest with you, and maybe it was, I don't know. I wasn't home, so maybe it was all over the TV and I missed it. The NFL is desperately trying to make the combine a big deal, and I don't think it's going super well. You know, some people tune in for the 40 time and all that kind of stuff, but it's very slow, and I don't know the perfect way to do it. But I'll tell you this: I would watch the living crap out of a scored competition of kickers and punters. Heck yes, I would. You get some of that NFL Next Gen stats out there with the little line that follows the ball with like a timer for hang time. You show some velocity on these things. You can score it based on accuracy over expected or something. I don't know. I'd watch the crap out of that. Some of these drills are not that interesting, but you start putting together stuff like this, especially since a lot of it doesn't actually matter. I think you could have a lot of fun with this. First of all, it's useful. It's not like we're just screwing around, but we're kind of screwing around, and it's fun, and I'd like to watch that. I think the NFL could benefit from doing more things like that, with scoring, and like I said, with GPS, they're starting to add the miles per hour, which I think is great. It's great for us. Also on the website, which is not perfect, but they've got a lot of cool things on there showing the different drills and sort of the all the different metrics, miles per hour and timed speeds and all that. It's a lot better, but it's not integrated quite right, and I think that they could do more. So again, this is one of the more interesting things that I would love to watch, and I've never heard of that before. I didn't even know this was a thing, especially the day before their work is supposed to be done. Anywho, just a thought. More fun, goofy competitions. You know what I mean? I won't go through all of this stuff. Some of this is better suited for the NFL Draft podcast. It's a lot of first round stuff. That's what a lot of the news centers around, which we don't have a first round pick. As for rumors and whatnot, I think we've covered a lot of this stuff already. There is some expectation that the Aaron Rodgers decision will come a little earlier than usual. I don't know if I necessarily buy that, but I mean, he's been through this process several times. Whether he wants to take the full process or maybe he kind of knows, I don't know how this is going to go and wants to speed up the process. I don't really know. But the Steelers apparently talked with him, said they had a great conversation, and they do expect a quicker decision than last year. The Ravens apparently are offering center Tyler Linderbaum a market-setting deal, greater than $18 million per year. It's looking as though he's probably going to come off the market, which is bad insofar as it'd be cool to get him. On the positive side, as I said, I genuinely believe there are a lot of good center targets. Now, there's kind of a window, right? It's not like there's 50 of them. There's, 5, and you got to get them. It's obviously a lot more than 5, but, as far as like really promising, intriguing guys, I mean, there's plenty of other potentials. But from my perspective, there's some serious center targets that I would love for the Packers to invest in. And, if you get Tyler Linderbaum, now you have an opportunity to get these really talented centers, and you're probably going to pass, and we're spending $18 million per year on a center. That's rough. Lions talks with David Montgomery are still fluid. It sounded like he was going to be out the door. I guess they're having some conversations. It's probably similar to the Packers having conversations with Dobbs, where, we like you, we would like to keep you, but at the same time, the odds that we're going to find some kind of an agreement are very low. That'd be my assumption. I don't necessarily know. The Bears are allowing Tremaine Edmonds to seek a trade. That was a disaster of a signing for them. I think he did have one decent year. I'm not positive. It doesn't matter. It was a stupid signing. But they're going to apparently allow him to seek a trade. Therefore, apparently the Bears are looking pretty heavily at the linebacker position, which makes me happy because they have some pretty serious needs. And if they frickin' screw around with linebacker, less chance they actually address those needs. But Bears, Broncos, and a few other teams apparently showing very heavy interest in the linebacker class. There's also a rumor that Jaguars wide receiver Brian Thomas could be traded. I mentioned that because, again, I'd like to keep an open mind. I don't know what the Packers are going to do in free agency. I think we all assume wide receiver is very low on the priority list. Whether you believe that or not, I think we would all agree the Packers probably think it's low on the priority list. But it's worth noting. Something that is maybe a little bit more interesting is KhaDarel Hodge. Jordan Schultz reporting the Falcons informed former Pro Bowl special teamer KhaDarel Hodge that he will be released. Hodge spent 4 years in Atlanta, including that Pro Bowl season in 2024. Hodge spent 2018 in LA, 2 years at Cleveland, then a year at Detroit, and then 4 years in Atlanta. As a receiver, his best producing year, highest yardage was 232 yards. He has 2 touchdowns in his entire career. So he's not a wide receiver. He is a pure special teamer. He is also 31 years old, and it says 2024 was a Pro Bowler, but if you look at the PFF grades, 2022 in Atlanta, he had an 84 special teams grade. Then it went down to a 74, then 55 and 64. He's still got a little bit of juice, but he's never really been, aside from, he had 2 years in all that span where he was like a well above average, good, very good special teamer. Otherwise, he's been kind of eh. And again, 31 years old. We got plenty of guys that have 70 grades. Maybe not enough, but we have too many guys that have 60 grades. We don't need another one. So I have a feeling the Jordan Schultz tweet comes via the agent, former Pro Bowl special teamer. You know what I mean? Jordan Schultz doesn't know anything about frickin' KhaDarel Hodge. Agent's trying to pump up his dude here. But again, you never know. You never know. We don't have a special teams coach, but if we did, he might have interest in him. I don't know. Jordan Schultz, this similar report, but Jordan Schultz also saying Malik Willis on him getting $30 million per year is a foregone conclusion. Again, we've already mentioned that $30 to $35 million. Just kind of adding the component of it's a done deal. Like everyone knows that is it's not speculation anymore, apparently. Okay, let's take a break here. We'll jump into a couple other things. Aaron Banks, not really news, but talk and whatnot. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. All right, I want to talk about Aaron Banks a little bit. It's one of those things where we kind of zero in a little bit too much on something. Maybe I'm too negative on Banksy. I want to start with this, though. Article by Bill Huber. Brian Gutekunst makes abundantly clear $9.5 million decision on Aaron Banks. Essentially goes through what we've talked about, that there's a $9.5 million roster bonus that will be paid to Aaron Banks on the third day of the league year. And so, will they pay it? And then he posts a quote. I wouldn't expect him to go anywhere, General Manager Brian Gutekunst said at the scouting combine. He said it doesn't get any clearer than that unless he's just flat out lying. And once you pay the guy, you're not cutting him unless there's some kind of a trade or something that you're looking to take a little bit of that money on yourself so that he's easier to trade or whatever. But again, that would just make him a complete freaking liar. So I guess what I would like to do is, I don't know, try to give him maybe a little bit more of the benefit of the doubt here. Um, one of the biggest issues I have with the whole Banks conversation is, you know, from Brian Gutekunst's perspective, it's well, it's all the injuries and all that kind of stuff that really caused some problems. He's played 4 years, right? 2021, he didn't really play. 2022 is when he really stepped into playing. Second round pick, right? Big dude, 325, all that stuff. His first year, he had a 57 run blocking grade and a 61 pass blocking grade. Okay. He also gave up 35 pressures, which is the 13th highest among all guards in the NFL. So that's not super great. If you look at it from a pass blocking efficiency standpoint, which is a PFF metric, where essentially, it's pressure rate, but sacks are more impactful than hits, more impactful than hurries, whatever. Taking all that into account, he ranked 62nd in pass blocking efficiency. So, and that was a 61 grade, so they're calling him average, right, throughout the season. His run blocking grade was a 57, so worse than his pass blocking. This very big guy that moves people in the run game, super good and everything. His run blocking ranked 51st. So remember, we're talking about a guy that we handed a massive contract. We want him to be a top offensive guard. He's ranking outside of the top 50. Now, this is, his first year in or second year in or whatever. But just to be clear, this was not a very good first entry. Then, if we look at his next year, he's playing, left guard still. 50 pass blocking grade. He ranks 63rd as a pass blocker. Okay, but he's a run blocker. He ranked 54th in run blocking with a 55.8 grade. He had given up 36 pressures, which is one more than the previous year, despite playing less snaps. So he gave up the 14th most pressures among all guards, left and right, and his pass blocking efficiency ranked 46th. 2024 was clearly his best year, which always scares me a little bit because I'm worried the Packers looked at what he did in 2024 and said, that guy looked really good. But even that was His best asset was his run blocking in 2024. Pass blocking was also better than the last 2 years, but just kind of whatever. So in his entire career, this is the best thing he did all year. His run blocking was a 68.9 grade, very close to a 70. He ranked 24th, tied with Brock Hoffman in Dallas. His pass blocking was a 60.5 grade, and he ranked 51st. His pressures went way down, which is great, even though he gave up 1 sack, which the previous year, I guess he gave up 0, but just 25 pressures. So significantly better. He gave up the 38th most, but overall, he wasn't really very awesome at anything. I mean, he wasn't even top 20 in any category. Now, again, I know the Packers don't use PFF, and they have their own things, and they very clearly thought that he was top 20 in a lot of things. The problem that I have is that I'm using PFF, and they're using their special magic powers of film study, and I said, this guy's not good. And he came in, and he graded out basically the same he has almost his entire career. He had a 54 pass blocking grade. That's bad. However, it's not really different than what he's done his entire career. As a recap, the last 3 years were 60, 50, and 60. He's at 55. That is dead freaking average for him. He had a 56 run blocking grade. That's terrible compared to 2024, but in 2023 and 2022, it was 56 and 57. That's exactly what he's always been. It's exact. If you had to ask me based on, if let's just say 2024 was a bit of a fluke and we look at 2022 and 2023, what would you guess? Well, let's see. He had a 60 and a 50. So let's call it 55. Yep, he had a 55 pass blocking grade. Okay, what about his run blocking? Well, he had a 55 and a 57. Let's split the difference, call it a 56. Yep, that's exactly what he had. So if 2024 is a fluke, by the way, 2021, injury-riddled season, 2024, injuries, 2025, injuries. it's a bit infuriating to hear Brian Gutekunst talk about Aaron Banks as like, oh no, he's really good, trust me, and like everything's great, and he just had some injuries, but everything's fine. You listen to the quote here from Brian Gutekunst. He said, Aaron Banks, he really hasn't missed much time in his career. Some of the things he went through were unexpected. I really thought he played well toward the end of the season once he got healthy. Excuse me, what? First of all, he had 4 appalling pass blocking games. 4. 4 that were sub 40. We can even say 3 that were sub 20 if you'd rather that. Doesn't change anything. The first was in week 3, and that one was somewhat understandable. He got injured in week 2. They brought him back week 3. Didn't go very well. They shut him down until week 6. He came back and performed pretty well after he came back from that injury. But he said, I really thought he played well toward the end of the season once he got healthy. Do you know where those other 3 of the 4 appalling pass blocking games came? Weeks 15, 16, and 17, all in a row. The wildcard game against Chicago was better. In fact, that was one of, if not his best, one of his best games of the year. 17 pass blocking grade against Denver. 36.5 pass blocking grade against Chicago in week 16. 15 pass blocking grade week 17 against Baltimore. Can you explain to me how in the hell he played better in the second half of the season? Or toward the end of the season? What are you talking about? And for being a great run blocker, I don't think he's stitched together 2 good games in a row. 40, 50, 50, 50, 60, 70, 40, 80, 50, 40, 60, 70, 40, 40, 60. For a guy that's supposed to be a good run blocker, he had 3 games 70 or higher. He had 6 games 60 or higher. Average or better, only 6. Week 14 against Chicago was a 65. Week 8 against Pittsburgh was a 67. The wildcard game against Chicago was a 69. Week 15 against Denver was a 72. Week 9 against Carolina, 78. Week 11 against the Giants was an 82. This is our great run blocking phenom. Otherwise, it's 50s and 40s. This guy is bad. He's just bad. I don't know what the hell we're doing with this. I mean, it just pisses me off because I'm in a situation now where, again, I've been saying, what are we going to do? What is the answer? What are we going to do? What are you actually changing? And I understand they're not just going to come out and roll out, here's our exact plan of everything that went wrong and who sucks and all that stuff. Okay, fine. But I'm trying to see what it is you're doing. And Bisaccia, no, he's great. He gets to stay. Now, he stepped down, but no. The GM is great. He gets to stay. The coach is great. He gets to stay. In fact, almost all the coaches get to stay. We fired 1 wide receiver coach. Okay, well, that's great. So he was the problem. Well, the offensive line also was a massive problem. Okay, what are we going to do about that? Banks sucks. Are we going to get rid of him? No. He'll be fine. We'll keep him. Okay. Sean Ryan sucks. What are you going to do about that? Oh, no. We like him. He's solid. He did a good job. Oh, okay, great. What are we going to do about this? Anything? No. They're actually good. I think we're going to look at corner. You frickin' Offensive line was an I said it before. This is the worst offensive line the Packers have ever had in the PFF era, and it's not freaking close. Almost everybody on this offensive line performed as one of the worst at that position in the PFF era, independently, much less collectively. And we're just going to throw up our hands and go, Banks, yeah, it's fine. I understand Belton, giving him a little time. I don't have a lot of faith, but I get it. I'd like to draft some people or do something as a little bit of a backup plan, just in case. But I get it. I understand our left tackle situation. I'm a little bit more optimistic about that because he actually looked good, at some point. And hopefully he can be good. I don't know. He needs to be. But our entire interior offensive line is in shambles. And Jordan suffers. Our pass game suffers. Our run game went to 0. Freaking 0 because of this offensive line. 0. Do you know how hard it is to be a good offense? How much strain that puts on the coach and the play calling and the quarterback to be perfect in passing when the other team knows you cannot run? You have no freaking run game whatsoever, how hard that is. So again, the question I keep asking, the entire time I keep asking, what are we actually going to do? What is the plan here? And as best as I can tell, the plan is, we were injured. Let's run it back. And to some degree, like I get that with Micah Parsons. I get that with Tucker Kraft. I get that in some areas that we're going to massively improve when these pieces come back. Give me Wyatt back. Give me the boys. Like I'm ready to freaking rock and roll. But this offensive line, no way. No freaking way. Right? We've got a left tackle. We've got a right tackle. Whether that works, I don't know, but we got them. And you know, the problem with Banks is we're paying him so much freaking money. It's one thing if he's kind of a low-cost guy and we're just going to let him kind of linger and then we're going to go out and try to draft some other people and see how it goes. Let me just put it this way. I hope that there is a lot of investment, whether that be through free agency, which would be unlikely, but free agency and the draft. There needs to be a lot of competition and there needs to be a lot of willingness. I don't give a damn how much you're paying Banks. There needs to be a lot of willingness to shut him down and put somebody in there if we have somebody better. Now, based on their evaluation abilities, I would guess that they're going to determine that Banks is the best, which is wrong. But on the off chance you happen to see somebody perform better than Banks and come to the conclusion that Banks is not the best option at left guard, right guard, or anywhere on this team, then he needs to be on the bench, and I don't care if he gets $65 billion a year. And that goes for Sean Ryan and Anthony Belton and anybody else on this offensive line. Because the only proven guy we have on this line is our right tackle. That's it. We need massive competition. We need competent coaching, which again, they're convinced that they have the greatest coach. Maybe they do. I don't know. I can't know these things. But you know, at some level, the proof is in the pudding. At some level, if you're good at your job, these things should happen. For example, I should see people doing a good job. I should see people improving. Name one person after I've said this 1,000 times. I know it's getting repetitive. One person that after Stenovich left as to become our offensive coordinator improved. Because all I can think of, either everybody stagnated or got worse the second Stenovich left. I haven't seen a single person improve. Jordan Morgan hasn't improved. Belton didn't improve at any point. Sean Ryan has not improved. Nobody has improved. Nobody. I think we have a fantastic team, but there's some things that are non-negotiable, and this offensive line is non-negotiable. And maybe I'm just more nervous than anything, and I got to let this whole thing play out, but I'm getting a little bit leery and annoyed that the message seems to consistently be, no, we're fine. Like, guys, I think we need a new coach. Nah. Okay. Well, we need a new special teams coordinator at least. No, he stays. Well, the freaking offensive line coach, like the guy from the Eagles, just stepped down. He's looking for new opportunity. You want to go get him? No, we like this guy. Freaking why? Why? Because your players like him? You guys, everybody's best friends? You all go to like pizza parties together and just have a great time? You have sleepovers and pillow fights? I want somebody that produces results. And I don't know why you don't want that. Oh, no. I think they're getting results. If you look at Banks down the stretch there, he really was improving. Nope. He wasn't. He was not. And all this bull crap from Packers fans about how, Sean Ryan was actually better than Elton Jenkins. And Sean Ryan is actually serviceable. And shut your stupid mouth. Elton Jenkins runs circles around Sean Ryan. It is not even close. A broken down, beat up 31-year-old Elton Jenkins who's playing on one leg is better than Sean Ryan. I'm tired of people trying to make Sean Ryan a thing. Okay? It's not a thing. The only thing it is a freaking catastrophe. I had hopes. And you know what the other issue is? I don't know when we made the decision to get bigger and stronger on the offensive line, but that is completely freaking blown up in our face and we need to stop it. Zach Tom is a small, athletic guy. And we've done great with that. David Bakhtiari, all these guys tend to be smaller, more athletic guys. And we freaking dominated with these offensive linemen for years. That was our bread and butter. And you get this outside zone crap and all that. And then we go out and get a new running back, and we decide, you know what? With Josh Jacobs, we want to be a little more powerful. We want to push people around, whether it's Jacobs' fault or not, whatever. Fault is the wrong word, but whether that's the reason or the pivot point, or if it's just we want to be more physical, whatever, that has been a freaking disaster. Sean Rhyan was such a weird pick because it's not the guys we usually go after. He's this big, massive kind of a guy. Didn't work. Anthony Belton, this big guy. I mean, I like it. I'm all about it, but he's not. He looks so far terrible. And then we go spend $1 billion freaking dollars on this massive acquisition of a guard because he's 325 and we need fat guys, like bigger the better. If he was 335, we'd pay him more money. And you know what? He's bad. This simplistic bull crap about we need bigger offensive linemen. You guys suck at drafting big offensive linemen. You have done an unbelievable job over the years of finding these smaller athletic guys that are great technicians. You have dominated with that. And now we're trying to find these new big guys, and it seems like you're brain dead when it comes to evaluation because it begins and ends on the scale. Because you look at these guys and it's like, yeah, but they're not good. It's like, oh no, they really push people around. Yeah, I've seen the highlight reels too. I've seen that. But I don't give a damn about the fact that one time he frickin' threw a guy across the stadium. I care about consistency on a down-to-down basis. The guys, these guys are playing 65 snaps in a game. You think I give a damn about a 5-play highlight? And this is what annoys me about guys on social media too. Oh man, Anthony Belton's a dog. I'm not, I hope Anthony Belton becomes great, but it just annoys me when you look on social media and it's, oh, look at this. And there's like 5, 6, 7 highlight reels from 3 different games. The guy played 150 snaps in those games. I love the potential. I love the upside of a guy like Banks and a guy like Belton and a guy like Sean Rhyan because they're big and they're strong and they'll jack you up. Maybe. I mean, you got to understand the guys on the other side are also 320, but, occasionally, that 250-pound pass rusher kind of loops into the inside and gets pancaked. Like, yeah, that was cool. Yep, it was. What happened the other 50 plays after that? Well, it wasn't great. This power running game is not working for us. We're not good at it. And we just keep doing it. And I think we need to stop doing it. I get it. Everybody, it's a trend, and everybody wants to change. Everyone wants to be bigger and stronger and all that. And it's this frickin' thing that we got into. And I cannot see any positive results that have come from it. I don't want to be too simplistic and say stop drafting big guys. I mean, look, I just want you to go back to your process, and I want to go back to being an outside zone team that likes athletic offensive linemen and has creative run games, not just this power bull crap where it's entirely on the offensive line rather than Matt LaFleur's scheming. Because do you remember like a couple years ago where people were like, bro, this guy's run game is crazy. He's running all kinds of crazy creative stuff to create these lanes and do all these things. Now it's just, and nothing's 100%, but there's a lot more just up the gut power stuff that relies on good strong offensive linemen to just use proper technique and push people out of the way, except they're bad. And so there's no handicap. There's no Matt LaFleur scheming. It's just push. And they're like, yeah, but I can't. Okay. Well, now what? I don't know. I don't know what we do. I'm probably overgeneralizing, but there's a trend that we're moving in a direction, and I don't love it. It hasn't worked since we've been doing it. And I hope that it changes, and I really, really, really hope for Belton. I like Belton. I'm excited about his upside. He does some really good stuff when it's good. But at the same time, it was mostly just awful. 44 pass blocking, 49 run blocking. And again, the poor frickin' guy, he played week 1 as a right tackle, week 2 as a right tackle, week 3 as a right tackle, week 8 as a left tackle, week 12 as a left tackle, and then week 13 we thrust him into right guard, and he does that for the rest of the year. So, very small sample size, and again, I would love to see what an actual season of him just being a right guard looks like. I'm not trying to crap on Belton. I just, I'm skeptical and I'm seeing a trend, and it's not a great trend. And I know I've been hammering this, but it's there aren't that many things that are going to derail us. I think we're a fantastic team. This offensive line is a non-negotiable. And I do think we can improve left tackle. Maybe. We'll see how good Morgan can be. I'm genuinely hopeful that Belton takes a step, at least from awful to mediocre would be a step. Right tackle, we got to get Zach Tom healthy. Left guard, I don't know. I don't have any reason to believe he's going to improve whatsoever. Maybe he has another fluke year where he goes from subpar to above par. I don't know. Freaking get excited. And then center, nail it. Freaking nail it. At least then, we don't have a great offensive line, but if everything goes right, and that's like the best it'll get, because 4 positions are basically solidified. And again, I really would like a lot more open competition than I think there's going to be. I should say open and honest competition. I'm sure it'll be open, and they'll talk about how it's open, but, I mean, does somebody have to be like 10x better to actually get that spot or what? I don't know. I'm skeptical that the approach of we're not going to actually change anything is going to fix things. But again, if everything goes right, if the left tackle thing goes the way we want, and Banks is frickin' Banks, and we nail a center, and Belton takes a step, and Zach Tom is healthy, okay, we're on track. Do we have an elite offensive line? Definitely not, but it's definitely better than it was last year. Take a break. We'll be right back. All right, so another kind of minor thing, but it's as I said, I wish we would be able to hear from Gannon or something. Be great to be able to kind of get to know him and hear from him and all those kinds of things. Hopefully at some point we'll get there. Another article by the man who never sleeps, Bill Huber, over at Sports Illustrated. Packers provide big clue about 3-4-4-3 mystery at scouting combine. I mentioned this before. Everybody's just 100% certain that it's going to be a 3-4 defense, and that it does make sense. But his foundations are 4-3. He ran, I think, primarily 4-3 with the Eagles. That might have changed toward the end. But then they ran 3-4 with the Cardinals, and it's like, well, I mean, he's primarily a 4-3 guy that maybe shifted to a 3-4 because of personnel or something. It's also very cool, a guy that's flexible that way, to run a 4-3, have an understanding of a 4-3, and then be able to just say, based on X, Y, and Z, we're going to start running a 3-4. Usually I don't want to say locked in. Obviously, these guys know their stuff, but it's hard to specialize in a lot of different things. A lot of the article and the response from Gutekunst centers around the fact that it's a nickel defense league, and so 3-4-4-3 doesn't really matter anymore. I think it kind of does. It maybe doesn't matter as much because we're not running base as much, but the idea that we're looking at essentially the same defense with or the same defensive front between Joe Barry and Jeff Hafley. I think it was a little different. It also makes me, well, let's get to it first. Here is the quote that he highlighted primarily from Brian Gutekunst. It says, I think Jonathan's got some 3-4 principles in base that you're going to see that maybe we hadn't in the last couple of years. All these defenses are so multiple now. Go ahead.
Someone is at the front door.
It's really more about back end and how we're going to approach it from that angle. But it's a nickel defense league right now, so more likely you're going to see 4 down, 2 linebackers, 5 DBs. So essentially the answer is we're going to be running a 3-4. Right, we're doing 3-4. I mean, it's not literally what he said. He said you're going to have some 3-4 principles in base, but then he goes on to talk about some other things. So what it sounds like he's saying is, yeah, in base they're going to be 3-4, but let's not worry about that. I'm actually kind of excited about that. I know everyone, it's all overblown, whatever. The biggest reason I am, everybody wanted to switch to a 4-3 because it was going to help our run defense or some such nonsense. I don't really think that that's exactly how that works. I think it's more, there are 4-3 teams that work. There are 3-4 teams that work. It's just a matter of, who's running it and which players you have. The thing that I have that I like that's exciting about it is I can't help but get excited about Micah Parsons in a 3-4 defense. Obviously, we did some pretty creative things with him anyways at linebacker and kind of roaming around. But the idea of him standing as a standing rush outside linebacker just feels more correct for him. The other thing that I like is seemingly, based on some comments, Rashawn Gary is potentially likely going to be sticking around. Now, we always said since day one that he's more of a 4-3 guy. However, he trained for years to improve as a stand-up outside linebacker. And I know he's getting older, and I know that there have been, maybe some injury stuff, kind of, not really. But in reality, there is a very noticeable, I mean, if you look at it, you can look at it as a noticeable slow decline over time. But there's also a drop-off the last 2 years. Now, again, whether you want to call that more of just a continual gradual decline or a, causation based on switching to a new defense, I guess that's up to you. The biggest issue is probably going to be 2023, where, there was also a pretty sizable drop-off from 2022. But if we just look at his pass rush grades. 2021 was his peak, right? So one way you could possibly view this, he's a 4-3 guy. He doesn't really know the pass rush stuff, right? He's kind of a work in progress. He's behind Preston and Za'Darius. It's going to take a little time to build this guy up. He only gets 152 pass rush opportunities. On that, he has 16 pressures and 3 sacks. That's 10.53% as a pressure rate, 1.97 as a sack rate. Neither of those are necessarily fantastic. The next year, he gets 350 opportunities, so a little over double. And he goes from a 59 to a 66 pass rush grade. And he jumps to 13% pressure rate and 2.58% sack rate. It's actually the second highest of his career. He had 9 sacks on just 349 pass rush attempts. 2021 is his elite season. 481 pass rush attempts, 90 grades, 70 run defense, 77 tackling, 90 pass rush. He has 87 pressures, which is 18% pressure rate. That is freaking unheard of. That's insanity. And a 2.94%, almost 3% sack rate. He had 12 sacks on that season. Then it just starts going down. 204 attempts because he was injured. 83 pass rush grade, which is great. 38 pressures, which is 18.63%, which is even higher. And again, psychotic. And so it was actually 2.94. This is 2.49, whatever. It doesn't matter. About the same percentages, but the grade went down a little bit from a 90 to an 83. And he got hurt. Okay? 2023, he's back to 440 snaps, 74 pass rush grade. So he took another jump down from 83. 66 pressures, which is a lot, but it's 15%. It's a little bit lower than the 18%. And 2.27% sack rate, which is still fine. Not quite what he was the last 2 or even 3 years, but that's fine. Ended up being 10 sacks that season. Then 2024, we do something new. Now we have Jeff Hafley. He's back to 430 pass rush things again, so he's, same as last. But now it's a 66 pass rush grade. Now it's not even good. His pressure rate drops from 15%, which is still very good, to 11%, and a 2.08% sack rate. Then in 2025, the snaps again are fine, 440, but his grade goes down to a 61.8. He had 60 pressures, which puts him back at 13%, still not back to his, whatever, but it was, the 2020 range. But his sack rate is now the lowest of his career at 1.57. So again, very easily you can look at this and say, Rashawn Gary's just been declining since 2021, but he's only 28 years old. There's no reason for this to be a foregone conclusion that, let's see, 28, 27, 26, 25. At 24, he peaked and then just started going downhill. I know there was an injury in there. I get that. I'm just wondering, and again, this back and forth bull crap that we're doing all over the place that's messing everybody up, starting to understand more and more of the importance of continuity. Oh, let's try you at right guard. No, let's try right tackle, left guard. Frickin' A. Rashawn Gary, hey, 4-3 defensive tackle. Actually, never mind. Learn to be an outside linebacker. Okay, he's grinding. He nails it. Now he's an elite outside linebacker. Well done. Now go back to 4-3. Maybe there's some potential there. On the negative side, Van Ness was really just starting to hit his stride. There's no reason it has to be the case that going back to a 3-4 is going to screw him up, but it is possible that that's going to screw him up. And we'll also have to hear from Gannon. Obviously, there's been speculation since day one. Everybody's been trying to kick him inside 24/7. That probably isn't going to happen. But, you know, keep an eye on it, especially if we're talking about certain situations and certain packages. I'm sure Gannon would be more than willing, especially in pass rush situations, to have, you know, Van Ness and Wyatt on the inside with Parsons and Gary on the outside or something, you know. And again, I don't necessarily want to overblow the situation. But even when we talk about four, it's no different because it's four linemen. Yeah, but do you understand how many times they still have the outside guys standing up anyways? I mean, I remember looking at Preston. He never put his hand in the dirt, ever. Like, ever. When we were a 3-4 defense, I don't know, Pettin maybe. I don't remember when this was. But I remember going back and looking at it and seeing, because I think there was talk about what if we moved to a 4-3 or something at that point. And I wanted to see, okay, well, when you're in nickel, you put your hand in the dirt, right? So how often did they do that? And you know, maybe you can see how they did or whatever. Preston didn't ever. And most of the guys didn't. They would stand up. So you got two down defensive tackles, and then the two guys on the end, yes, it's just a four-man line, but they're still standing. So, and it's even beyond that, the standing, you know, the stance that you're in. There's assignment differences, and there's it's just different. It's you know, it's funny because like the low level thinking is 3-4-4-3 makes a big difference. And then the next level of thinking is it doesn't make that big of a difference because of nickel. And then there's sort of another level of, well, that's oversimplifying too, because there's a lot of nuance in all of these things. And it's, you know, bigger than that, bigger than just 4-3-3-4, but schematically what they're going to be asked to do. And so there's just a lot of assumptions that we can't necessarily make about anything. I'm open to Rashawn Gary hopefully having a little bit of a resurgence. I'm hopeful that on the flip side, Van Ness is not massively negatively impacted. We'll see how it goes, I guess. But we've got maybe a little bit of clarity on that situation. I'm sure Gannon is still going through grinding on everything. And so I'm not entirely sure even what he has fully determined. But I do look forward to that. All right, I'm going to leave it at that. I got to get putting these kids to bed. I will talk to you later. Please get your calls in. We didn't have enough today. I put out a question for those that are just like, I just don't have anything to talk about. I put that in the Facebook group as well as on Twitter. So if you're just looking for something to talk about, it's there, or find your own thing. It's fine. But I'll talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.